Hi everyone, welcome to my kitchen. I'm here today to help you learn how to make your own fermented sauerkraut. So, what I've done so far is I have thin cut half of a head of cabbage, and I'm going to go ahead and thin cut the rest of this cabbage just so you can see how I do it. I just use a large kitchen knife, being careful of my fingers. I'm going to just make those slices as thin as you like. And of course, some of the slices come out a little thicker, but it's okay. I'm not trying to be perfect with every slice. You can turn it different ways and cut it in different styles, and that'll just add to the texture of the sauerkraut. So don't worry about whether or not you can slice it perfectly. Any type of slicing works. And then we're gonna add it to the bowl here. I have the cores set aside just in case I need them. A lot of times it's helpful if we juice the cores, especially if we're doing a no salt fermentation. And today I am teaching you how to ferment without salt. And so I'm gonna leave those aside just in case I need them. So the first thing I wanna do once I've got all my cabbage cut is massage the cabbage. So we want to make sure that we break open the cell structure of the cabbage itself. And that takes a little bit of elbow grease. And so what I'd like to do is just rest one hand while the other hand works, and then of course once the hand gets tired, employ the hand that was resting. So I just kind of switch it off back and forth. Making kraut is of course a messy job, so don't be afraid if cabbage winds up all over your countertop. That's completely normal. Happens to me all the time. And so I just work this kraut. I can feel it already loosening and becoming wetter, and that's what we want. We want the cabbage to release its own natural water from inside. If we have trouble promoting that process, maybe our cabbage is a little bit dry, we didn't get a chance to go to the farmer's market, so we don't have a really fresh cabbage, then one of the things you can do is place big handfuls into your Vitamix, which I do have my Vitamix on standby. You can see it there and in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. So anyway, I will employ it if I need it. This cabbage seems to be becoming more and more moist, but I might go ahead and juice some anyway, or blend some anyway. So we'll leave that sit for a few seconds. I have here, I just want to show you other ingredients. I'm going to do some fresh garlic as well. I've got some fresh garlic here. I've got some fresh beets, and we just slice them into little triangles like this. So I've got 2 actual bowls of fresh beets. And then we also have some purple carrot. These purple carrots are super sweet. You can see they're kind of purple and yellow, so they're super beautiful, and they'll add a real beauty to the kraut itself. So what I'll do now is I'll just take a handful of this kraut that I'm working on, this cabbage, a couple of handfuls, and just place it into my Vitamix. And what this does when I use the Vitamix to blend it is it's going to open up the cell structure of the cabbage, and it's going to release the enzymes. So anyway, it just helps me. So I'm going to use my plunger. I'm going to need that quite a bit. So anyway, I don't add any water to anything, as you can see. It's just straight cabbage. And then I'm going to turn my Vitamix on, and then just shove it all down into the blade, right? This Vitamix is a little bit interesting because it's a wider. there. Oh, for sure. Okay. That looks like it might be enough. So I'll just take this out, pull this cap off, and I just use my hands. Of course, I washed my hands before I started this process, so no problem. So we just add all this pulp that we've just blended up into our kraut. And because we've blended it, now we've actually opened up the cell walls. And wow, we have changed the texture of the kraut completely. Now, one of the keys, and what I tell people in class is, you know, you really want to make sure that you can pick your cabbage up and squeeze it and it'll drip water. I hope you can see that there. If you pick up your kraut and squeeze it and it's dry, it is not ready to go into the jars, okay? So that's how you know you are ready to put your kraut, or your kraut is ready to put it in the jars. So I've got a lovely mix here. I'm just mixing all of the pulp around with all of the larger cabbage leaves. And then what I can do is start adding all of my other ingredients. So I'll add my garlic. I'm gonna add all of this beet, and just some of it didn't get broken up with the knife, so I'm gonna do that by hand. And then I'm gonna add these beautiful carrots. And you may be wondering, well, do I skin all these things? Do I skin my beets? Do I skin my carrots? You don't have to. I did today, but you know, every day is different. Some days I'm in different moods, you know. Some days I go to the farmer's market and I have all this really fresh produce and I don't want to skin it. You know, I want to use the produce, you know, in the way that I bought it. So, you know, I'll just leave that up to you in the way you want to use your produce, what makes you feel most comfortable. If you feel more comfortable cleaning, then go ahead and clean it and skin it. If you're fine having a little dirt, a little farm dirt, then go ahead and do that. So I've mixed all of this together, and now I've got this beautiful pink colored kraut. And as it ferments, as you can see, as it ferments, it's just gonna get more and more beautiful. So anyway, I can't wait to see. I have my kraut jar here. So what I usually do, this bowl is a little bit more narrow, but I like to kind of make room in my bowl and just kind of put my jar down inside. That way I don't make a big mess all over my countertop. And so anyway, we want to take a couple of handfuls, right? So maybe 2, 3 handfuls at a time. And then I use my hands. If you have larger hands and that doesn't really work for you to stick your hands down into the top of the jar, one of the things you can do is actually use your tamper from your Vitamix, or a lot of times if you buy a sauerkraut kit, they'll have one. But I like to use my hands. I like to press all the kraut down and really press out the air pockets. So it looks like I need to get a little more product in there. So I'm gonna add a couple of more handfuls and then press down. And I have a little step stool here, so if you have a step stool at home, you can use it. And then that just gives me some height, so I can really use the strength or the pressure from my own body to press down on the kraut. And what we want to do is we just want to get air pockets out so that we don't have oxygen. You know, oxygen is the enemy of ferment, so we want to make sure that we press all the air pockets out. And one of the things I like to see when I'm fermenting, and I'll kind of bring the camera over so you can see this. My hands are kind of dirty, so let me just wash it real quick. I gotta pull this tripod over, so just bear with me. So what I like to see when I'm doing this is as I'm pressing, I want to see kind of the water pockets coming up. I don't know if you can see that, but you see how the water, you see that water right there? That's what you want to see. Okay, you want to see it filling in the gaps. All right, there we go. I just wanted you to see that. Okay, so 2 more handfuls and press. And then I'm gonna add the rest of this kraut in there. We're not gonna get a completely full jar, but that's okay. We're still gonna get a beautiful kraut. So excited. And chunky too, because we've got almost just as many beets and carrots as we do cabbage. The cabbage just helps us get the water content up. So I'm pressing all the air pockets out, and then at the very end, I've got all of this juice left in the bottom. So what I'm going to do is just pour it in there. Poured some of it down the side. So I got that. And now what I'm going to do is just do one last press. And then I'm going to clean my jar. So I'm going to take, especially clean the outside, right, so I can see. And then I'm going to clean up the inside because I don't want any remaining cabbage leaves on the side of the jar. I want everything, if it's going to ferment, it needs to be under the water. It needs to be down amongst the kraut body itself, not lingering on the sides of the jar. That's just going to attract pathogenic bacteria, and we don't want to do that. So there we go. My jar looks fairly clean. And then I'm going to grab some lettuce leaves. Well, these are cabbage leaves, actually. So we're on the outside of the cabbage. And I just rinsed them off with filtered water. And I'm just going to put those over the top layer just to protect the cabbage that is exposed to oxygen. Press it down and really get the water to come up. Wow, this is going to be a nice juicy kraut. And then if you have weights, you can add weight to the top. So if you have a rock or an actual kraut weight, you can add your weight there. And then I'm just going to add the lid. Now I have a fermentation lid, so I am going to add this contraption. You see it has a hole in the top to allow some of the methane gas to come out. And so I'm just going to add the lid. We're going to add a little water to this. About halfway, and then place that back on, place that on, and voila, I have my fermentation ready to rock and roll. So I will make another video in 4 or 5 days when I decant this kraut and taste it for the first time. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful for you and just helps you improve your kraut making skills. It's a fun skill to have, and remember that krauts and fermented foods are really good for our digestive system. They help cleanse the digestive system, and they also provide probiotics and prebiotics so that we get some good bacteria living in our guts. All right, thank you so much. Good night.